All right, 2-point perspective. Things you'll need, similar to 1-point perspective, you'll need a ruler or some kind of straight edge, pencil, and a piece of paper. All I'm looking for from you again is 2 boxes drawn, but this time instead of in 1-point, we're going to be working in 2-point. The biggest difference to know is that we will have 2 vanishing points. So start like before with your horizon line. We want to make sure that every time we initiate any kind of perspective drawing, it is with a horizon line in mind. This time when you pick your vanishing points, do them on either end. I would not do them super close together. I would widen them out, have a left vanishing point, and have a right vanishing point. So from here, make the dots easy to see. In 1-point perspective, we started by just drawing a rectangle or a square. That is not what we do in 2-point. Instead, we're going to start with a vertical line. Essentially, all of your blocks and shapes in 2-point perspective, you'll be seeing more from the corner instead of a flat face. That'll make more sense as we go. So I'm going to just shift one over here, and I'm going to draw a vertical line. You decide how tall you want to go with that. And I just wouldn't make it super small or super huge. Just kind of keep it right around the middle. After I've started with my vertical line, next thing, I'm going to take the top and bottom to both vanishing points. So that means either end of my line, I take to both sides. So I'll go here. Remember, I set my point, bring in my straight edge, and then align it to the dot. I really like to push down on that straight edge to ensure that I get a nice, clean line. Same thing with the bottom. Set my dot, bring in my straight edge. Done. If you notice that your line is off just a touch, take the time to go in and fix it. So if you look at mine, I don't go directly to the dot right there. So this angle is just a touch off. I'm going to redo it. I'm going to go back in, set my dot again, realign it, and it should be coming more in to there. Well, fantastic. Do the same thing again. This is for your viewing humor. Go a little wider than you may think you need. That's what I was looking for. Okay, back out. Same thing, opposite side. Going here. I like to keep these lines fairly light, as I think I told you in the other video, because part of them we will be erasing. 2-point is pretty easy once you get used to it. I've got that going on. Next thing, after I've taken the top and bottom to both vanishing points, now set the vertical back end of the box. So that might sound confusing, but it shouldn't be. All I mean is, like we did before, is you decide how wide I want this box to be, and just make sure that line is vertical. And we'll be setting one on either side. The box has to end somewhere. It shouldn't run to infinity. So I'll go here. I normally will take the bottom edge of my ruler or my straight edge and just make sure it's aligned with the edge of my paper on the bottom, so I know I'm drawing a vertical line. These can be deceiving. So I draw my line, bump it over. Let's say I'll make this a skinny side just to mix things up. Okay, so now that I have that, I'm going to take the top, and this part can get confusing. Take the top of each back corner. So I've just set this back wall, so this would be the top of each back corner. So these will go to the opposite vanishing point. So top back of each corner goes to the opposite vanishing point. So now I'm going to take this corner that's on this right side and run it to my left vanishing point. I will set my dot there, align it, and connect it. Same thing going the other way. Dot, align line. Keeping these lines light. Now you can see I've created my rectangular prism in 2-point perspective. And you can rewatch this if it helps. But that part is probably the trickiest and most confusing part. Erase your lines that are outside the box. This is where I'll come in and clean up those edges. I'm okay if you can still see these lines. Just do your best to erase. But if you were creating a wonderful work of art using perspective, it would be very important to draw light so that they aren't visible in your final product. Darken your box lines. So I would go back through, and ones that are light, ones that you didn't press hard on early on, come in and give a good amount of pressure to make sure that it's going to pop out and stand out. Don't run from the ruler at this point. Stick with it so you get a nice clean edge when you're drawing these. After you have drawn one box, the only thing left to do is, remember I'm asking for 2, so draw another box, maybe over here, and then submit it. That would be the final step. So I'll just run through quickly and draw another one over here. This time I'll do a, let's do one floating up here. And this one should be actually even easier. Vertical line, top and bottom to both vanishing points. Once I get there, I gotta set my back edge. I'll do a longer on this one. And right now, don't even really think of them as buildings, but more so think of them as just boxes. You can turn it into that later if you'd like. Now, on this one, the tricky part is I told you to take the top of each back corner. So the top of each back corner on this one that I set already goes to the vanishing point. So I don't have to draw that again. Really, that number 6 applies to forms that are very below the horizon line or above the horizon line. But if you see how this box is kind of right on the horizon line, you won't have to do those lines to opposite vanishing points unless you draw this like an empty box. So an example, if I were making this like a garage on a building, say I was doing that, the top of my garage would go to my vanishing point. And then inside the garage, if I wanted to give that illusion of that being hollow, this inside corner would run to the opposite vanishing point. And that's how you get the illusion of being able to drive into that. To give you a little bit better clarity on this one, if you draw it over the horizon line, you'll need to erase the horizon line out of it and then leave your horizon line everywhere else, but get rid of these angle lines to be able to leave your box beautifully drawn in 2-point perspective. I'm excited to see what you create. This is all I'm looking for.